Hi, everyone. Welcome to what should be the most riveting 20 minutes or so of your life. Maybe 30. We'll see. Um, so, if you ever wondered about EtherChannel, which is communicating between two switches on a small network, um, you've come to the right place. And if not, well, you're here, so you might as well stick around. All right. So, we're going to talk about EtherChannel. Really, a lot more interesting than it might sound on the surface. Quite useful in a lot of situations. Um, so, why EtherChannel, right? Just run four cables. That'll fix it. Not necessarily. Not with spanning tree protocols and things like that, because that's going to cut off any redundant connections and it's not going to quadruple your speed to run four cables. That's what a lot of people think. Um, Long and short of it is basically think of a garden hose versus, a fire hose, let's say. So a garden hose, you can turn that bad boy up, and you're you're gonna get some decent throughput, right? But what if you had a fire hose hooked up same way? You're going to drown somebody standing up, which is kind of the what we're shooting for here is doing both of the getting the most throughput through what we have and making use of what we have without necessarily purchasing uh, different connections or different other solutions that might cost a ton. This one we can implement with a couple of extra cables, and we get that extra throughput, which is always great. So this allows for bandwidth aggregation, which combines the capacity of multiple network links. So we're taking those interfaces and we're turning them and taking four. We're going to be taking four interfaces and turning them into one here in a little bit. So that's just going to increase that bandwidth. Load balancing is going to limit those bottlenecks due to so you got whole bunches of people on both ends hitting these switches and going back and forth, and those two switches need to talk, right? If you only got one link, that is a bottleneck, especially what if all five of these over here and all five of these folks over here all need to do stuff at the same time with people on the opposite side, and you got all this throughput hitting this little tiny, single connection. It's just not gonna end well. And then redundancy, which we love. We're shooting for the 5 nines, of course. So if we're shooting for 5 nines and keeping that 99.999% uptime from a networking perspective, this is a great way to do that. Even on a small scale, if you're just doing two interfaces at a time instead of four, that's going to give you that bidirectional duplexing for the speed. It's going to limit that bottleneck there. And then this, if one of those lines goes down, it just continues right on with its day. It's a very fault tolerant connection, because faults are going to happen. Somebody's going to run over a cable or kick it out of the something, or stuff happens. So a little bit about why and what's that like. Well, here's rip this directly out of the book. Well, I didn't rip it out of the book. I copied the picture, but so we got a couple of workstations over here, both connected to switches. The switches go to another switch, so we've got those two running through one interface and going up there, and then we've got to jump to the other side of the house. Let's say it's a big warehouse and you've turned it into a big office space, and you've got these folks over here and these folks over here, and we just need to get it all together, but we're separated by the middle, and we just need a bunch of throughput there, because what we have here, these switches can handle it because they've all got separate, links here and there. This is going to give us those 4 links there in the middle, and that's going to let us do what we need to do, and get that throughput through from side to side. How we're going to do that? The plan is to start with a plan. That's basically what you have to do. In the real world, you're probably somebody's gonna say, hey, we need speed and we have no budget, so go do that. So that's where your plan starts. We need to fully identify what you plan to connect. Let's take a paper. There's tons of fancy things out there that you can jump on and lay out and do all the cool stuff. You can jump in Packet Tracer and lay it out if you really want to be fancy schmancy. But that's going to, as I say, plan your work and work your plan. So let's get that plan down first. We need to be connecting same types of devices. We need to make sure there are enough ports on those devices. If we just have small switches that don't have extra ports, we're going to need a new switch. Actually, probably 2 new switches. So that's a thing. And then check for any other limitations. Distance. Do we have enough cables? Do we have cables in the budget? Do we have are we going to be running the cables through a plenum? Can we get into that area, between that drop ceiling and the roof, and figure out, are we going to have to put conduit in on the ends? We have to go through solid walls. Like, there's a lot of stuff to think out. Now that's above and beyond the scope of just setting up the ether channel, which is what we're going to do today. But something to think about. Like it says here, you really want to try to foresee the unforeseen, to take your time and work through it all to get where you need to be. So the very basics. We're going to access the command line interface, the CLI on the switch. We're going to get through the interface configuration mode, set all that up. We're not going to set that up today, but we're just basically going to hit the ether channel. But you're going to configure your switches for security, closed ports that we're not using, all that good stuff. We're going to configure the ether channel mode. There are a couple different modes. There's LACP and PAGP. PAGP is a Cisco specific, it's its own thing because Cisco's cool like that. LACP is one that will work, for other devices and stuff, unless you're going to be, a solid Cisco setup. Probably better to run that LACP, because you're going to have Cisco stuff, but you're also going to have other things that you've got. So we're going to have to work with that too. And then we're going to verify that ether channel configuration when we're finished. This is your sure. Trust but verify. There's a few commands we can use to check and make sure that ether channel and the port channels are set up. We're going to want to check those. And then, of course, we're going to use ping to try to jump across what we need to jump across and make sure that we're looking good. All right. And now let's see how we do it. And we're going to head off to the Packet Tracer circus. Easy for me to say. All right. Well, I'd like to welcome you first to the Completely Above Board and Non-Evil Corporation, CABNEC. They've contacted us and they need us to do some networking. We've got a couple of sides of the house here that are engaged in completely altruistic and very, very non-evil things on both sides. And they're having some issues here because we've got this one little baby line here, and we've got all these guys that are doing some really big good work in the world, and we need to make sure that gets through like it should. So I've got this one link set up here now, just people. That's what they have, so that's what we got to work with. So let's just test some things out. We're going to send a little packet here from eCorp over here to Cyberdyne. And it looks like we're successful. So everything's working now. So it needs to be working when we leave, because right now it's working slow, but it's working. So to do that, we're going to have to schedule some downtime and hope that they've got everything under control for a little bit. Hopefully it won't take too long. We're going to have to run some cables, but we can send somebody out and get them started on that while we're doing what we have to do. So for starters, let's jump in here. This is going to be our LexCorp switch. Again, another fantastically above board company with no evil intentions. And we're going to set this switch up. I'm not going to set up all the goodies that you would normally set up because that's going to be very specific to them. But we're going to go ahead and set up and get this EtherChannel running so they can get right back to work, what they need to do. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to do enable. To get in there. Don't sleep on the tab button. It will save you a lot of typing. And don't forget that it takes shortened conversions of the command. So instead of configure terminal, we can type conf t. That's going to bring us in. That's going to bring us into configuration mode. So we are good to go. We're in the terminal. We can access these interfaces now. So the first thing to do would be to make sure that all the interfaces that we're going to be working with are in their default configuration, I guess be what I want to say here. So to do that, we're going to go in and default them. So we're going to type default because that's going to set whatever we put after that is going to go back to original. So we're going to do default. Now, usually we would do like an interface range and grab a range, but this command does not seem to like to do ranges. It likes to do one at a time. So that's always fun. So we'll just start typing interface and hit tab. So we hit IN and tab, and now we got interface. And then we're going to do F for fast Ethernet, because we're going to, I should show you that. On the two switches, we're going to do F21 through F24 for our 4 lanes of EtherChannel. So we'll do F021, and we've defaulted that right back. So we hit that up arrow because we don't like to type. We've been typing all day. We don't need to type more. And we need to. We're going to do F22 the same way. We're going to do F23 same way. And we'll do F24 the same way. Okay, so what we've done is we've gone in and we've taken those 4 interfaces and we've set them all to default. Somebody may have been in there messing and turned this on or that on, and it could cause issues down the line. If we default them back to original, then we know exactly what we're dealing with. We've got a nice white canvas versus a canvas that somebody's already slung paint on. We got to paint around it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to grab that range of interfaces so we can start bundling together. So we're going to do interface, and this will allow that we can do ranges here. And then we're going to want to do a range as often as possible when you're doing these things. That way, everything gets the same exact commands. No ifs, ands, or buts. Not like you forgot to do one thing to 24 or something like that. It's all going to be the same. So F20/21 to 24, and we're going to get this configure interface range. So now we know we've dropped into the range. First thing we're going to do is we're going to shut it all down. We're going to shut those 4 interfaces down. Try to think of it as we're trying to get into a car, get a bunch of people into a car. if the car is rolling by, we're not going to be able to load a whole bunch of people and stuff into this car. If we stop the car, shut it off, we can load stuff all day long, and then we just got to start it back up again. So we want to make it, it just lets everything be quiet, let us set up what we got to set up, and then start it back up, which is great. So we've done that. We've shut that down. We can set our speed on the connection. We set that to 100, which is 100 megabits per second per line, which is just lets it know what you're dealing with. Just a good practice. We're going to set it to duplex full, and that's going to make sure we've got bi-directional communication. So it should be 2 up and 2 down, basically, going either way, so that we've got, again, we're just maximizing that throughput with what we have. So we've done that. Now we need to set the switch port mode to trunk. So we've taken all 4 of those and we've set their mode to trunking. So they're just sending information through. Like it hits here, it goes straight through, which is what we need, which is the basics of EtherChannel. So we need to do that. So we went ahead and dropped that in there. So we got that working. Now we need to tell it that they're a group. Right now, we just got 4 strangers sitting in a room. We need to let them know that they're a group and they're working together now. So we're going to go channel dash group. Oops. Let's see if we type it right. We're going to just call it channel group 1. And we're going to set the mode to active. Now, by setting that mode to active, that is where we're picking that LACP versus the PAGP. Again, you could end up with different mixed switches, routers, whatever. So if they can all just use a basic protocol versus a specific specified protocol, you better chance you're going to be able to, you're not going to run into, oh, all of a sudden, you know, this office over here isn't connecting anymore. Well, they had a Netgear switch or a Linksys switch, or well, I guess Linksys, a Cisco, but you know, something else that's just not going to work with it. Let's go ahead and set that. So now I've told all those switches, all those ports on that switch, that they're working together as a group, and they're going to be happy about it, and they're going to like it. So we're going to start those interfaces back up. So we're going to do the no command. We're going to do the no shut command, because shut turns them off. So no shut turns them back on. So we hit enter there, and we can see that all 4 interfaces have come back up, which is good. And then we are going to do, we're good there. So now we've set LexCorp up here to be ready to run these cables and set this EtherChannel up. And we're going to go over to Aperture, and we are going to do the same thing. Now, another kind of neat thing you can do that I've become a big fan of is getting those doing things in batches. So if you know, so let's say I was going to do this to 8 sets of switches today, right? And they were all going to be this, and I can cable them all the same and everything. I can, in a file, like a notepad file or something, I can type out my commands, right? And then I can just click here and click paste. And we've dropped in default interface range 20, well, it wasn't a range, but that's fine. So we defaulted 21, 22, 23, and 24. We're back at the configure. I didn't have to sit here and type and go back up and use my tabs and my arrows and, you know, try to save time. I just saved a bunch of time. Which when you're rolling things out like this to large to medium, well, heck, even small, if you're configuring a ton of devices, the more stuff like this you can do, the faster you're going to roll through it. And that's the name of the game, being fast, effective, and efficient. because we're going to charge a fee. So we might as well be fast, effective, and efficient, right? Okay, so we've defaulted everything back, so we know everything's right. And since you sat through the first one, I'm not going to make you sit through it again. We are going to select that interface range. We're going to shut it down. We're going to set that speed. We're going to tell it to be in duplex. We're going to change that switch port mode to trunk. We're going to tell them all they're in a group and they're working together now and they're going to like it and they're going to use LACP. Then we're going to no shut so we can get it all back up and running. And that's the hope anyway. So let's go ahead and paste all that stuff in here, right? All right, let's see what we've got here. We selected that range. We shut everything down, which it says here, it's administratively down. We set that speed. We set it to duplex, changed the switch port to trunk, grouped everybody together, brought all the interfaces back up, and we should be good to go. All right. Now the fun part, I say that with air quotes. So we're going to go ahead and grab a copper straight through, and we're going to go fast 21 to fast 21. I haven't found a quicker way to do this. I think there is, but I don't know what it is. So there's 22. But in real life, you're dragging cables. There's no easy way to do that. 23 and 24. All right. And as you can see here, we're seeing some reds turn to oranges. And we're going to click this magic button here that zips us through some things. Now everybody's orange, part green, other parts green, back to orange. Everybody's green, right? Which is what ultimately we were kind of looking for. So let's test it. We're going to go to eCorp to Omni Consumer Products, or OCP. Let's see what happens. eCorp to OmniCorp. Here we are. It went right through. And that's basically what we're looking for here. So if we go back in here, we can do a quick show EtherChannel summary. And that's going to tell us that we've got group 1 is set up on a port channel. It's SNU, so it's layer 2 in use. We're using LACP, and those are all the ports that are being bundled together. So that tells us we're up over here. So let's just, it's working, but let's just trust but verify, right? Show EtherChannel summary. And same thing over here. We're SNU for layer 2 in use. LACP, we've got all of our correct stuff here. So we're pretty much done. We have the completely above board and non-evil corporation back up and running. We've got plenty of speed through there now. We have 4 lanes running. We've gone from a 1-lane backcountry road to a 4-lane interstate. So we've got plenty of throughput for them. They can communicate about all their, growing unicorns and kittens and all the things that, completely above board and non-evil corporations would do. So that's about all I got for that, I think. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I have. Just went through a quick and easy setup of EtherChannel, implemented it in a smallish to medium-ish network, depending on how you want to look at that, I guess. And again, super basic. Just hit the basics. Let's get it up and running. There are a lot of different things you can do after that. To make it more secure, to add other bits and pieces here and there. But it's a really good start. It's going to get you up, get you running, and hopefully get you on the right track. So thanks for stopping by. Hope you pick something up, and look forward to talking to you again soon.